Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Wyntis Hall Show with my special guest, Attorney Todd Flood. Good evening, Mr. Flood.
Hey, good evening. Thanks
I'm
for
going to
having me.
give, no problem. I'm going to give people a couple seconds to come on while I share to some groups here. That's what we do in the podcast world.
Yeah,
Have
this
you
is new
gotten
for
used
me.
to that yet? Or you
No,
just share? You said no, you're not used to it yet.
no.
Well, surely you have kids in the house that have electronics and they are on them all the time.
Unfortunately, they're not here. Otherwise, I'd be more um, in tune with using the computer as opposed to the phone. But anyway,
Right. You can just scream
I'm
and
old
say,
school.
come make this work for dad, and then everything will go okay.
Right, right.
Okay, just give me a few more minutes here for a few more people to come on. And then we can go ahead and get started. Long day?
Long day. You can tell?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You're always a busy man to catch up with.
Well,
And by you being an attorney, I know you're in and out of court all day.
this is true.
I'm hoping that I didn't just send it to you because I push a lot of buttons here. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get started, and more people will just come on as we go. Mickey, did I have? You couldn't hear my phone in the backdrop, could you? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so again, I would like to welcome to the Wyntis Hall Show attorney, prosecutor, Mr. Nice Guy, and I'm sure you have plenty more names they call you.
You've been kind.
Attorney Todd Flood. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. I really appreciate it for coming on the show tonight.
Pleasure's mine.
Taking time out of your busy schedule. I was sitting and for the past month or so, and I've been trying to track you down for a date, which you've always been positive about. Yeah, you would do it. We were just trying to find the right time, and I'm thinking like Tuesday the 25th. 9 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
And we have still, and when I say we, I'm talking about the the Flint community, the community that I said that people need to know. They know you from that. You're known as our champion, our fighter for
Right.
the Flint water crisis, and still 9 years later, we've received no justice, and people hated to see you leave off that case because I know personally that you promised the people that people would be held accountable, and no one 9 years, 2023 has been held accountable to this day. What do you think about that?
Well, the case has always struck me to my core. It's always shaken me. Nowhere in America should this ever happen. Nowhere, period, should it ever happen. Uh, you think of all the places that it wouldn't happen and the disparity in treatment for which Flint had to go through.
Right.
It's sad. And, to the extent that accountability, meaningful accountability, I think is probably the better word, or description of accountability. But to your point, no one has been meaningful and the sense of justice been held to the process of due process, to the standards of which we would want our court systems to work all the way through from A to Z. So you can't capture words to cover what it means to someone that's on the front lines to
Right.
walk away from this case. But I can't imagine the people of Flint to this day haven't recouped, haven't had any mercy, let alone justice shown
Right.
upon them. So sad.
I mean, it's worse than sad. You know, sometimes I just sit and think about like piggybacking off of what you said. If it was anywhere else, someone would have seen justice by now. Someone would have seen some form of justice, and on top of that, the pipes still haven't been replaced. You
Right.
know, it takes a judge to come in and say, you know, you have to have the pipes done by August, which, I mean, how things are going around here, I still don't think they'll be done by August. But to hear that the pipes still aren't done, I mean, Todd, come on, weigh in on that. Like, no, the pipes aren't done. The restoration isn't done. And then the city administrator came this past winter and said that, you know, hey, we're out of money. We don't have any more money for restoration. So, but we were given the money for the restoration. So what happened to that money? I mean, these are all questions that are going through my head, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but how do you feel about that? Like the pipes not being replaced, the restoration
Yeah.
being back.
Well, candidly, the pipes in the state of Michigan, we just had a report of about $16.5 billion needed to change pipes around the state. You would think that if there was a model, for the country, it would be Flint on how to do it and do it right. And the state of
Right.
Michigan should step up. The federal government should step up, and money should not be an object, never should be an object over lives. We shouldn't
Absolutely.
have to weigh what it costs to save lives. So the fact of the matter that the pipes are not done, are not put in place, and Flint is still suffering some 9 years later
Hmm.
for the destruction of those pipes. Just think about it. I mean, you had a pipe system that worked, albeit needed repair. You weren't being poisoned. The
Right.
pipes got destroyed, exacerbated by the fact that there was no orthophosphate, or there was no protection of those pipes from leaching lead and Legionella and other diseases within the water.
Right. More than lead. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was a big part of what I saw. Lead, long lasting, obviously, and we don't know what the residual will be, but um, when you count up the deaths, when you count up, that we had at least 149 people that passed away from Legionella, in essence, pneumonia, because of the water. You would think that someone would step up to the plate and demand and make it happen above Flint, above,
Hmm.
the city, because it takes a village. It takes the administration of the United States White House. It takes the governor's office, and everyone to step in and make this happen. And then we could show the way to the other communities around our state and around our country that have lead pipes that need to be
Hmm.
replaced. But it seems remedial to me, right?
Right.
Because we don't have in Flint, um, I guess, the care that's necessary to make sure that this is done in a post haste way. So,
I wouldn't just say it's Flint. I think it stops. It's further than Flint. You know, um, when you say people need to care and you cared, you spent a lot of sleepless nights, I'm going to assume, working on this case. How many
I,
years were you on this case?
three
3
years.
years.
Yeah,
3 years on
living
this case.
and breathing, and became very close with a lot of friends that I'll have for life.
Right.
And I still remember attending some funerals. So the indelible imprint in my mind,
Hmm.
I still have sleepless nights when I think about it, and what people went through. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Like, people died, like you said. Some of my loved ones have died. People that I know, their loved ones have died, passed away. I
right,
mean, I think about it now, like Mr. Woodson's in DC right now, working on a cancer cluster study. Like, cancer is just boom, all of a sudden took off since we've had this man-made disaster.
right.
And he's trying to get the cluster study going, and it's devastating. And Todd, when you say that we don't have anyone, is it okay if I call you Todd, or would you like to be
You
Attorney
call me
Flood?
anything you want. Todd is what everyone calls me. So yeah,
Okay, okay, good. I
anything
just,
more is something that makes it doesn't sound right. So go ahead.
okay, okay, good, because I want this to be a personable conversation. So,
Sure.
so Todd, when you said that, we don't have anyone here in Flint that cares, to me, it goes beyond Flint. And when I say
Uh,
beyond Flint, I'm going.
yeah, I want to correct that. It's not people in Flint. I'm saying the people that are in the administrations that have the power to
Hmm.
help the people in Flint. We need
Hmm.
those people to care. The people in
Hmm.
Flint care. They're the ones that are suffering through it. They're the ones that want it to stop. So it's not that the citizens of Flint
Oh
don't
yeah, yeah,
care.
definitely.
They
Right.
they they're on the front lines.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. So if this happens someplace else in Birmingham or Royal Oak or
Hmm.
Grand Rapids,
Farmington
um,
Hills, anywhere.
Farmington Hills, you would
Hmm.
you would have the National Guard making sure the pipes were put in. I would imagine. I don't know if that's the right agency, but
Right,
you
right.
would
But I
see
get
the
what you mean.
trucks, right?
Hmm.
You would see the barrage of
FEMA. Yeah.
yeah, you would see that happen. It would seem to me there's a duplicity here, and the people of Flint care. They live there. You're there. You're on the front lines. You're having this show for the very fact that you do care,
Right.
and the compassion for it. The fact that there is still suffering going on, and the fact that the pipes are not replaced post haste a long while ago, yesterday, is more than the tragedy in a lot of ways. It's
Right.
it's it's
That's a
putting
tragedy within
salt.
itself.
Yeah, it's putting salt on wounds that you can't fathom, right?
Right.
So yeah,
I mean, my parents they're old. They're in their 80s, and to say, Mom, hold on, you got to change that filter, or let me go get your filter. I spent
right,
money out of my own pocket for water, and it's just sad that there has been no justice. I will never stop screaming that. No justice. Just give us some justice, and maybe that will settle us down some, but still we have lost lives.
right,
But Todd, I'm here. I'm not gonna do a lot of sugarcoating. I like to get to the root of the problem and ask the tough questions that people are scared to talk about. And this is one subject in itself that people are scared to talk about. Just the water. They don't want to bring. For some reason, they just want to sweep it under the rug, but I can't let that happen, because year after year I see water celebrations, and my pastor always says when you start to celebrate something, that means that you're getting used to it, and we
Hmm.
shouldn't be getting used to a water crisis. We're still in this crisis. So
right,
Todd, I ask you, we got our Democratic governor, we got Democratic House, I mean, Democratic mayor, everything, all the way down, council. And Dana Nessel decides to remove you. because they said they found boxes upon boxes of, I don't know what, papers that could be used that you didn't go through or some crap like that. What the hell happened, Todd?
Well, uh, I consider that not to be true and poppycock. The fact of the matter is that we did everything right times
Mm-hmm.
10. We didn't taint our investigation by getting material that would have been protected, and had the case potentially thrown out. So I'm not going to. I'm not the guy or the person to um, talk ill about Dana or anyone else in that
Okay.
team.
Okay.
But I can stand on this. We prosecuted people. We were moving from the bottom up. We got
Mm-hmm.
people bound over on manslaughter. The first
Right.
time in the history of the United States of America that a director of Health and Human Services and the doctor for the state of Michigan ever got bound over for trial on manslaughter charges.
Hey, is that
Based
that Nick Lyons guy that said people are gonna die from something?
Yeah,
Was it?
so
Oh, okay, yeah.
you learned that in the exam for which we held. That came out in the material for which we exposed. So when you look at what we did, we were moving in a normal white collar crime type case,
Mm-hmm.
just as how I was trained, just how the feds would have done it. And we worked in conjunction with a lot of different agencies, and we moved the ball down the field. We were winning. The fact of politics coming in to play to have us removed um, is what it is. I'm not going to again go. It doesn't do us any good for me throwing stones out it that way. I'm not a
Yeah, well,
I
not
believe.
not necessarily throwing stones. I just, wanted to see, like, how did you feel? Like, you
How
put
did
your
I
heart in your,
feel?
yeah,
How did I
you
feel
put your,
about being removed?
yeah, yeah,
Well, yeah, think about that for a moment, right? So you put your heart, your blood, your
right, yeah,
sweat, your
right,
tears.
yep.
You come to love the people. You
Hmm.
bury some folks. You cry with
It
them on
said
their
you talked
couch.
to almost 400 people in one article I read.
Yeah, so it is part of my life. That's my
Yeah,
arm and my leg. I mean, that's a visceral part of me. So how do you feel when someone takes you away from a case or from anything you have a passion for, and
right,
you want to do the right thing? Um, no word's going to capture how I felt. It was the worst in the world because I was letting go of, forced to let go of people I loved, of a case that I thought was righteous and was on the right side of the law. And,
right.
you pour something like that uh, into your body, into your mind, and you live it and breathe it every day. It sucked. I
Right. And I don't want to seem like it was a loss to the whole community, and I don't want to seem like the angry black woman. She's just angry. No, I'm not angry. I'm hurt. I'm devastated because it was a devastation to this community. I can't say that enough. When we lost you, and and to hear you just still sit here now and say with so much integrity, I'm not going to down the other side. That shows what type of person you are. But Todd, you're an attorney. And if the shoes were on the other foot and they said, okay, we're going to bring you in, this guy's leaving, here's the case, what are you going to do? Now, these guys said, we're going to throw out all of this work that he did and start over. What ran through your mind? Like, they threw out my work instead of building on this case.
Wisdom doesn't fall off a tree, you know. You don't walk
Right.
down the street and an apple hits you in the head and all of a sudden you're wise. At the end of the day, it's insanely difficult to take a file over when you've been ingratiated in the file. So, from a prosecutor standpoint or a defense standpoint, you have taken unbelievable amount of interviews, investigative subpoenas, under oath. You've done all of this work. You know everything about the file from the standpoint of where the landmines are, where the strengths are, and how to work the case. I have in my career have been given files in the middle of the stream where, as a prosecutor, the prosecutor fell ill or something happened where
Mm-hmm.
uh, he or she couldn't do the case, and it's insanely difficult just on a one person, one uh, uh, trial case. Imagine going up against Goliath.
Right.
Imagine going up against all of the money we had to
Mm-hmm.
go up against, where
Mm-hmm.
each defendant had multiple attorneys. Each defendant
A
had
team.
a team, and here we weren't. We were going at it in a very strategic, but it wasn't as though we had the resources that many of these people had.
I mean,
So
well, Todd, it wasn't like you were going after a dog catcher. You were
right,
going
right,
after
right.
some pretty
So
powerful people.
right, right. And here the Democrats didn't want me to win necessarily because they thought I was on the side of the Republicans. The Republicans didn't want me to win because I was taking down the Republicans.
Yep.
So it was kind of like, what do we do? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
there was the political nature of this. Yeah, many people that in the midst of our case at the very end, when the election was going on, there was the touting of, if we get in office or that happens, witnesses stopped cooperating,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden. So there were so many different facets to this case, but being taken off of the case in the middle and having another team come in is insanely difficult for that other team, because how do they catch up? How do
They
they,
can't.
how do they get into it? And
They can't.
I know many of the attorneys and the staff that were on the other team, and they're phenomenal. They're great lawyers
Mm-hmm.
and great people. And but I don't care if you're, Moses. It's still it's gonna be insanely difficult for you to catch up to that time and place, and especially where we were going with the case. There were so many facets to the case. You had to understand the science. You had to understand the expertise of what water and how it reacted, and what it did, and how that silent killer came into
Mm-hmm.
people's homes. You had to understand and follow the money.
Right.
Money is a very big part of this case.
Yes.
It had certain things. That was the closing argument. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have to prove motive, but I showed motive. They didn't want to make the switch because there was and this is all public knowledge. You just go to my closing in some of the cases for the bindovers,
Right.
and the fact of the matter is that they were handcuffed because they had to weigh whether or not they were going to spend and potentially lose the 125 million plus to bondholders if they switch back to the Detroit water system, right? And they said,
Mm-hmm.
"Nah, you know what? We're going to chance it. Let's keep going." And that was the purpose. If you would have put lives over money, we would have saved so many lives. But that,
Absolutely.
you had to follow that money. You had to understand it. There's so many complexities to it. And the fact of what we saw, I made by analogy, is the weatherman and the Doppler Center saw a big storm coming, and
Mm-hmm.
the duty of that person is to forewarn the people in that community that the storm's coming. Well, here they knew the storm was coming.
The
They
storm
knew
was here.
they knew in the summer of 15 that Legionella was going to pop up. They knew it. They had the epi curves to show from 14. So I called it the November storm in 14. If you remember, that's when the peak of we started getting the deaths
You're absolutely
from.
right.
And then all of a sudden, Legionella goes dormant during the winter months. But since they didn't cure the pipes. If they didn't do that, and they didn't switch back to Detroit, it would happen again in the warm season. So the
Mm-hmm.
warm season was coming along, and here it is, and they didn't forewarn. That was one of the major theories in the case is it related to the involuntary manslaughter.
Right.
The lead issues were clear. So many homes had high lead levels, and they got notice. And again, there wasn't the cure. So that's the human side. That's the side where we lost our loved ones and our loved
Hmm.
ones suffered. But the other side is the money, is the cash.
Oh,
Had they
Todd, yeah.
had they just simply said, you know what, spending $125 million is nothing for one life, right? So they
Hmm.
would have saved all those people had they just simply took place and put back the switch and risked the fact that they would have had to pay back the bonds. But that being said, you diverted me from. I've diverted
That's
me
okay.
from
It's
my
just
my
it's so
my
much to
answer.
talk about. Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
we're it's still I'm still gonna circle back to the powers that be. And I understand what you're saying because it's not the new attorneys, it's not the Kim Worthy and the what is it, Hamoods that they put on the
Padua.
cases.
Yeah, yeah,
Padua. It's not their fault.
right.
Todd Fleming, you had some very powerful people up against the wall. I don't know if there were more charges coming. Maybe you'll tell us tonight. But why do you think they got rid of Todd Flood?
Say that last part. I lost you there. I'm sorry, but
Why do you think they got rid of Todd Flood?
well, it was telegraphed from very early on. Dana wanted to start with a new team, and she didn't want Todd Flood on the team. That was clear. Uh, you know, she made that call. She made that decision, and that is what it is. I
Okay.
am. You know,
You're known for getting stuff to make stuff happen, Todd. I mean, when you hear Todd Flood's name, people say, "Uh oh, something's going to happen. It's about to rattle and roll." And I think that they knew that something was going to happen. Heads were going to start rolling, and you were too powerful, and they had to get you out of there. I'm just going to say it. Maybe you can say Wyntis was right. I'll just say it for you. I know I'm right. But
well,
you all,
yeah, I'll leave you to that thought and let that soak. But at all of this, I still and I still have trouble. I still have um, uh, triggering moments where this makes me very upset
yes,
about you can't I can't imagine this what people have gone through. I can't
right.
imagine what my friends having to um, you know walk a mile to get bottled water. I
It
can't
was horrific.
imagine to bathe my children or their children
Yep.
in water that they don't have enough um, to fill the tub, and you get anecdotally, the stories and can tell
Hmm.
the stories of how people suffer in
Absolutely.
Flint, right? And
Right.
um, not even a heedless soul when you hear those stories and when you live those stories and when you see those stories, can turn a blind eye to it. And I just it still shakes me up to this day, to say the least.
Right.
Walking up and down Martin Luther Boulevard there, and going onto the side streets and just knocking on doors.
Hmm.
And I remember a family of I-9 employees that were petrified, thinking that I was with the police and was going to have them arrested. But I knew that they had children within the home that needed good water. So I remember stories where uh, they didn't have cars, and only had one in the household, and that one, a friend of mine helped uh, on the team jump the car so the person could get to the station to get water.
I mean, you were known around Flint for doing these types of things. That's why I'm saying the community took a devastating loss.
Well,
We just not only lost the case, we lost you. You know, when we
well, I'll
lost you, we
always
lost the
be with
case.
you. I'll always be in Flint. I'm moving actually an office in Flint, and I just got 1,000 backpacks for the children of Flint for summer getaway. So we're going to fill them with books and treats and everything.
Well, that's awesome. You heard it here first. Todd Flood
That's
is
right.
coming to
That's
Flint.
right.
All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So I still Flint will always be part of Flood. You know,
Right.
it's in my heart.
Todd, I have to ask you this. I'm gonna come back and get to some of the viewers' questions, but she's asked this a couple times, and I just want to know: were there more charges coming, Todd?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, for sure. For sure. We were definitely moving the change. So what you do is, and what we did, we were getting low rung people to take pleas and cooperate and move up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And we had more charges coming and serious charges coming. So to answer that person's question, we were on that track. Um,
Mm,
and you know, this is a case where you get cooperation. You get cooperators. You get people to flip higher up the chain, and that's if you just followed the case. That's what we were doing. We were moving it up,
right.
and
So it's not like the little fish. You had the little fish to bring you the big fish.
that's right. That's right.
So, Todd, while we're talking about this, and another statement you made about everybody being really smart, and I know attorneys are smart. You guys are you study, you take this bar exam, but you all take the same bar exam here in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
You all study the same laws. All the laws are the same. Um, so how come all these smart people in this courtroom did this unconstitutional thing with this one man jury? Todd Flood, what the hell happened?
Well, the one man grand jury was found the way they used it to be unconstitutional. It can be used as an investigative tool, but it can't be used as the charging tool. So the prosecutor has to make the charges. When I was in the spot, people asked me about how do you want to go about this, and I put some of my mentors around me, and we had a long night over coffee of some great lawyers that were not involved in the case, and judges not from that area, but from other areas, and lawyers. And I sat back with them all, and I said, "Listen, this is where we have to make big decisions." And the decision, first and foremost, was um, we had to do it in public. We had to do it with a preliminary exam. We
Mhm.
had to make it so that the citizens could come into the courtroom and see the evidence.
Right.
We had to have the testimony live, and that was really, really important because we needed transparency. The second thing motto we took was two is one and one is none, meaning this simply that we had to prove each element of the case was the thought at the preliminary exam twice because we knew there would be appeals. So
Right.
if I had to prove intent, I showed how the intent was in two different ways. Or if I had to show an overt act that they covered something up, I showed the overt act in two different ways. If I had to show the malicious mind, that they did it with a mind that get the misconduct portion of that misconduct in office. I did it twice because you want to be overly prepared for any kind of appeal that would take place.
Right.
So one was transparency. We wanted to do it with the preliminary exam. That's what we did. That was our decision, and our team all jumped on board with that. And then for every element of the case, whether it be manslaughter, misconduct in office, it's like making a pie. I put the ingredients in twice, knowing that everything would be tested.
Mm-hmm.
So their one-man grand jury, I don't know what theory they were using, why they wanted to do that. Um, we used to one-man grand juries
It's
were
unconstitutional, though. I mean,
right.
like, how could they not know this? You got one side saying, yes, we can. You got the other side saying, no, we can't. I mean, come on, Todd. It just looked suspect to me.
Well, I can't get into why their motives were. I'm just telling you what my motive was.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that the Supreme Court threw their case out for misuse of the grand jury, because the misuse of the grand jury, again, you can't have that one man judge usurp the power of the prosecutor to make the charging decision.
Mm,
And that's what happened. I think there was other things that took place that were probably not appropriate, but at the end of the day, that would be speculation on my behalf. I can only speak to why we did what we did.
right. Absolutely.
And, there were three amazing ladies that came to the exam every single time. And I think Art even saw them on a regular time when he was showing up. But that was the beauty of having it in public, was for everybody there, and including the media, excuse me, and the citizens to see. So that was really important to us, is to make sure we were transparent.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that should be important to everyone to be transparent, but sometimes people aren't so transparent. We also touched on, I heard you mention something, probably just a little bit about money. Now, Todd, 9 years later, 2023, we've heard everything from the floor to the ceiling, and this is not over, and it's still coming. I mean, nothing is coming. Nobody has received anything. The water settlement, that in my opinion, was a joke. It was a slap in the face.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I was not part of the civil
Right.
settlement. I- you know,
But just as a person, what do you
so
think about it?
so I don't think any dollar. I'm involved in some heavy cases,
Hmm.
and I have cases where I'm suing because um, people have lost their lives,
Right.
and the like. And I tell my clients, the loved ones, there is no justice when I give you a dollar, a million, 10 million, 5 million. There is no justice there.
Absolutely.
There's some mercy, right?
Hmm.
Um, so what money that was received, or is still yet to be received, I don't think is justice in any way, shape, or form. How do you tell someone that has a child that's been damaged, or had to suffer through something, or someone lost a loved one, that that's justice? They
Right.
would say, hey, I'll tell you what, you keep the money, just turn back the hands of time.
Absolutely. As a mom, I know I would.
Yeah. So
I
I
know.
I
I know.
struggle I struggle with a dollar
Mhm.
amount. I have no idea how they came to the equation of what this value was. And
Neither do we.
the fact of the matter is, I did not know, this is the first time I've heard this, that there hasn't been distributions on that settlement.
Are you
Um,
serious? Oh my
yeah.
God! Yeah, they even sent out emails probably about 2 months ago now, saying that it's going to be next year. Then we had a newspaper article say that it's going to be some in May and June. People don't know. I mean,
So
all
this
I
is
know
how
right now, we haven't got anything.
Yeah, so this is how it would normally be done in class action or big lawsuits where there's a mass tort. Normally, there is the litigation, and that bucket, that litigation is what the defendants are going to pay, and they put it into that bucket. And let's
Okay.
say there's 1,000 people that are to receive money from that bucket.
Hmm.
Then another set of allocators, I call them, people that assess the damages, have a finite amount of money, whatever that dollar is in that bucket. They assess the damages for all 1,000, and they do it based on damages for that particular person, and they use what is called metrics. So like, say for example, you lost a loved one, or you had to suffer through 6 months of loss, someone struggling and then passed away. So they would use a metric to determine the value of what each bucket or each portion of the metric is worth. That normally takes time, but it should have been. I would think. And I'm caught off guard, a little flat-footed. I didn't. I think I thought that had already been done. If you already
No.
received the money, you would think that the allocators would have been put in place to
No.
distribute the funds.
Yeah, I mean, one would think. I mean, one would think we probably would have had some ARPA money because it was for us too, but we haven't got that either. But I know you're not on that case. But yeah, no money. And so let's see. We got a water settlement. Well, let me back up. Let me do a recap. So we had a water crisis, and then we had a wonderful prosecutor who were charging top officials with things like manslaughter, and special prosecutor came in. Uh, New administration comes in, turns everything over, and they release you. And now they released everyone. Nobody got charged. Everybody's off scot free, not coming back to get charged again. They want to make us believe like this crisis is over. People have even gone so far as to say the water is safe, but
Mm,
you got to still use a filter. So if you got to still use a filter, then Todd, it's not
yeah.
safe, right?
No.
And so to add insult to injury, they took away the water pods. They dished out a lot of money to the help centers that were
Yeah.
supposed to help us, but they didn't buy any water. So now you have people that have a crisis, still living in the crisis. They can't make it to go get filters or filter replacements. They have to buy their own water now. They are paying for poison water. The water bills have went up. We've still received no justice, no peace, no nothing. That sucks.
That's a light way of putting it. But you know, if you size that up, and the fact that Flint and the our brothers and our sisters and our friends as citizens have to continuously go through the trauma of dealing with whether or not what they're drinking is okay.
Hmm.
Um, you can't make that up. You would think you're reading a book from Oz.
Right,
So Flint has to, it must. Um, it's too beautiful with the people in it to to not come back.
right.
Flint's. When I think of Dr. Laura Sullivan, I think of all the great people and all the heroes,
Right.
all the people that are fighting to make it so that it's not forgotten,
Hmm.
and that there's so much more work to do. Um, we have to have Flint be resilient and beautiful, and if anyone in any city, if any city in our state, in our country deserves all hands on deck, it's the city of Flint. without
Absolutely.
question. And
Right.
before we go anywhere, I hope that, and I believe, I'm a fan of many that have the ability to do it. I hope that it is sooner rather than later.
Right. Absolutely. Me too. Before we end, I want to just see if I can just scroll back up here and take a couple questions from my viewers
Sure,
because I
sure.
really thank my hall monitors. That's what I call them, Todd. I got hall monitors.
I'm surprised
Um,
not many people just kind of like hung up, but yeah, no, yeah, if there's people listening, that's great.
yeah. So I have one from Miss Tamara Mason. Do you think that the Justice Department should have been called in?
So that's a great question, and I worked very closely with Elijah Cummings' staff and up on in Washington D.C. And if you remember, we had a witness testify that what was being said by the governor at the time and by others high up in the administration in front of Congress, he actually lied. If you remember that testimony, and
Hmm.
especially when um, the very big part of it was when did he know and what did he know. So there was testimony taken up by Congress on the Hill, and to answer the listener's question, the Justice Department from that point could have come in for a potential obstruction slash perjury case for what
Wow.
was said on in front of Congress. That was a possibility. Um, so I think what was being done was we were getting the latitude at the time to carry through with our state claims before any DOJ claims potentially could have come in. But that, you know, obviously didn't come to fruition. If the DOJ did come in, it would have not hurt. But I can tell you that they helped us immensely, and they gave us, and it was put on the record, they gave us a lot of information and investigations that they did that helped us with our state case.
Good. That's good. Um, uh, One of my partners here from 810 News Media, Mr. Trevor Berryhill, he said, thank you, Todd, from all of us. You did a phenomenal job, and you just got screwed for being too good at your job. That's just Trevor. Trevor also made a comment that it's sad because of the good work and effort that you put in to set things right by people, and apparently you were just doing too good. Now, that does happen to a lot of people. When you do too good, you kind of get taken off of stuff. We've
Mm,
seen that a lot. Why do you think Flint just keeps getting screwed over and over again? Like it's getting we're getting heavily screwed. I mean, every day. And someone else said, you just can't make this stuff up.
yeah, you can't make this stuff up, right?
It,
Trevor, thank you. That's what I'm talking about with regards to Flint. I mean, uh, think about this. I mean, this is the place that we should make the picture of the shining star in the dictionary for bringing it back, and that's
right.
needs to happen. For why it's not happening, um, is beyond me right now.
Hmm.
And it's not as though the people of the city of Flint don't care, but there's got to be a voice that resonates to make this make Flint, and give the people of Flint, give the citizens of Flint their due, give them, clean water, bring back the tax base, bring back reform to making, a budget, figure out a way that this bond that is a ankle bracelet that you have to carry around is taken care of as it relates to paying back the 125 million. That should be somehow, some way, taken care of, so Flint is not strapped with, remedial care. Flint needs more than anything else. It needs um, the teachers to be given the resources, the police to be given the resources, the citizens to
Absolutely.
have safety within their own homes so they're not drinking poison. They need everything that everybody deserves. They need it times two.
That's right.
Um, so I I'm hoping and praying that every day the voice gets louder and the actions get more.
Me too. Me too. I mean, I can't agree with you more, Todd. And everything to me is, it just seems, like I said, it seems suspect. It seems crazy. I just want the city to be able to bounce back on the positive side of this. We were once a thriving city, over 100,000 people, and now we're down to what, 70,000 plus. People have moved away. They've passed on, and still, again, no justice. And until we have justice, we won't have any peace. Todd Flood, last words.
I got to tell you what you're doing and having the voice is where things start, and I applaud you
Thank
um,
you.
for
Thank
doing
you.
what you do. Um, I My hat is off, and my heart goes out to all of my friends and all the people I love in Flint. It's an emotional place for me because
Yes.
God did not give me the body to play football. If I had my druthers, I would have been just a Tasmanian devil on the football field. But I had to do it in the courtroom,
Right.
and when I can fight for the small guy, I will, and I will bring that fight to Flint when I can. And I thank the people for allowing me in their homes.
Well, we thank you. Again, we thank you. Um, and I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day
My pleasure.
to come on the A10 News Media Group platform. And I know you can't say anything about it, but I'm happy that you have the Mitchell Boys case. Thank you, Todd. And
Jair and Lamar, the and Crystal and Dre. Gotta
yes,
love, gotta love, gotta love. I mean,
yes,
yeah. Thank you.
fight, fight, fight as hard as you can.
We will.
We need justice somewhere in the city of Flint. I don't want to get all emotional, but thank you, Todd.
God
And
bless.
God bless you. And to all of the people out there in Facebook land, thank you for tuning in tonight. And we will see you next week at Thursday, 6 o'clock. Stay tuned tomorrow at noon for Trevor's Rant. Thank you, Todd.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.